relocating its own workforce while you were sleeping. A massive systematic policy shift just triggered an absolute war for talent across the Pacific. The numbers are officially in. New Zealand's annual net migration gain has cratered from a massive peak of 135,000 down to just 14,200. That is an absolute collapse. Authorities are doing this on purpose. They are aggressively tightening the border, but it has sparked a fierce backlash. Local industries are screaming, communities are hollowing out, and the dream of moving here is officially being crushed. Here is a dark truth of what is actually happening. To understand how we got this crisis, we have to look at what happened immediately after the pandemic. New Zealand opened its border wide. We saw historic record high numbers of new arrivals, but that rapid influx put an immense strain on our country. Local infrastructure began to crack, hospital wait times soared, the housing market completely overheated, making the rent and home ownership impossible for everyday Kiwi. The government panicked. Under severe pressure, they realized they had to pull the handbrake, so they targeted the main gateway for foreign workers, the AEWV, the Accredited Employer Work Visa system. They completely reversed their open door policy that designed for aggressive slowdown to stabilize the country, but they ended up triggering a massive economic side effect. Let's break down exact details of how this policy traps workers and crushes the business. The overhaul introduces brutal new clauses. Under these tougher rules, lower skilled temporary roles face strict limit on how long they can stay before they are forced to pack up and leave. They have added aggressive new English language requirements and made the pathway to a permanent residency incredibly bureaucratic and difficult to access. But who is paying the price? Look at the specific communities and industries. Net migration gains are now heavily concentrated from countries like India, China, and the Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. These migrants are arriving to find rules of the game are changing overnight. Meanwhile, Western European arrivals have completely cooled down. This policy hits our most critical high-demand sectors the hardest. Healthcare, elder care, construction, and hospitality are being starved of staff. Why? Because while New Zealand locks its door, Australian employers are running aggressive recruitment campaigns right there. They are offering massive relocation packages to steal our best talent. This is where tension boils over. Human rights advocates and immigration lawyers are absolutely furious. They are warning that these sudden chaotic visa changes leave temporary workers incredibly vulnerable to exploitation. When you tie a migrant's legal status to a single employer under the threat of a deportation, you create a breeding ground for unfair enforcement and a wage theft. Critics say these fast-track changes look less like a strategy and more like a systemic profiling. Business are desperate. Small regional towns are literally throwing out a business closed doors. Small regional towns are literally hollowing out a business closed their doors for lack of staff. On the other side, regular Kiwis are watching economic gap widen. Australia's GDP per capita sits significantly higher than New Zealand's roughly $64,400 versus New Zealand's $48,000. That's a massive wage gap is fueling historic brain drain. Local workers are realizing they can double their pay just by crossing Tasman Sea. So what happens next? These strict policies are already live, and the impact is compounding every single month. Planning a permanent future in New Zealand has officially become a high-stakes lottery. If you're a Kiwi, Australia remains an attractive, easy-to-access safety valve to escape New Zealand's brutal economic slowdown. But if you are migrant staying here, you might have temporary leverage on a specific job shortages. But you are facing a wall of red tape. The government wanted a reset. But they are destroying our economic future to get it. Is New Zealand protecting its infrastructure, or is it actively driving itself into a deep economic recession?